Welcome to GripeCast with your host, Alex Hernandez. This show is dedicated to consumer technology news and pop culture. GripeCast is owned by Techaeris. Visit Techaeris.com for the latest tech reviews, news, entertainment, and pop culture. Now sit tight, the show's about to begin. All right, welcome to the least listened to podcast on the internet. This is GripeCast episode 14. All right, I was not going to make another podcast until Friday. It was going to be an entertainment-based podcast. I may still do that. I'm still working on stuff. But something that came up on X last night that I thought was interesting and would be fun to kind of cover on a podcast. Mostly because it's a conversation that I was having with other people. And it's real difficult to talk on social media sometimes and kind of get your point of view across. And so it has to do with Elon Musk and a potential smartphone and smartphone ecosystem, and an X phone or a Tesla phone. It's been rumored for a long time, or rumored or desired, if you want to call it that. People have this thing. I get it. There's some people who worship Musk, and there's some people that admire Musk, and there's some people that think Musk is a good businessman, and he is. I'm in camp Musk for certain things, but one thing I am not is I'm not a worshiper. So if I don't think, let's take the Cybertruck for example. I think the thing is ugly. I don't like the Cybertruck. I don't think it fits a need for people that actually use trucks. I see it more as a status symbol. People want to have it, and they're going to buy it. They're not going to use it as a truck. But at any rate, my point is, I'm not an Elon Musk fanboy. I admire the man, and I give him credit for what he's done and what he's accomplished. I think he's a very accomplished person, without a doubt. But I think there's some things that he doesn't do good. And also, I'm not the type of person that wants to have one person or one company give me everything. So I don't want Musk to give me cars and social media. I don't want X to be my everything app. Every social media platform is trying to do that. They want you to stay in their ecosystem, and they want you to be there all the time, and that's all they want you to consume is what's on that ecosystem. Yeah, it's just not me, and that's okay. And it's okay if you would like that. That's okay. And that's just not how I operate. I'd like to have multiple sources and multiple outlets for something. So all that to say, last night, I started seeing several posts about an X phone, and I pulled one up here, and this is where I commented, and it's on Tara Bull on X, says, if Elon Musk came out with an X phone that doesn't collect your data, would you use it? Now, and then there's a render, an AI render of an X phone. It's just a kind of looks like an old iPhone 10, kind of modified, but it's just an AI render, and it is early this morning. It's 8:00, and here in Missouri, and I will be drinking coffee while I talk. So forgive me if I pause, because everybody needs their coffee, right? So, all right. So she says, if Elon Musk came out with an X phone that doesn't collect your data, would you use it? All right. I know that people want this. I know that people would like an alternative to Android or to Samsung and then Pixel, and I know that they want an alternative to iPhone. I get it, so I fully acknowledge that. And before I continue, before I get to my key points on this podcast, what I want to get out of the way, and I want people to understand is my responses in this podcast and my responses on X in no way say, I am not implying or saying that Elon Musk can't do this. Like I'm not saying that he's not capable of making a smartphone or even the ecosystem that needs to be around that smartphone. What I'm saying is I don't see him investing time and money into developing this whole new hardware and software ecosystem. I just don't see him doing it. At least right now. Maybe later. I don't know. But we're in the here and now, and right now I don't believe this is even on his radar. It could come at some other point. And what's cool is, I went to bed last night and I just kind of let this go, stopped responding, and woke up this morning, and there were some actual interesting responses to the thread, which I will go through here as we go through this podcast. If you're watching, it's on my screen. And if you're not watching, I'm reading them out to you. So I responded to Tarble. I said, seeing several of these posts today, because I had seen many of these posts, not just yesterday, but I've seen these Tesla X smartphone posts on a consistent basis on X over the past few months, a year or so. So I responded, seeing several of these posts today. Unless it's running a custom OS with its own app store and ecosystem, this would be just another Android phone, especially if it relies on any of Google's services or uses AOSP. I don't see Musk investing time and money into developing new hardware and a software ecosystem. So that was my initial response. And I have another response here I'll go over later, but then Slammy responds, I can see him doing exactly that, especially with the bleed over talent and software from the space programs. True, probably a Linux kernel, but he builds clocks underground. He buys Twitter and crashed it. Why wouldn't he put out a phone? To which, let's see here. I'm going to open these up so I can get the right responses. So I responded to Slammy. I said, developing an app ecosystem is a good reason. You'd have to convince hundreds of app developers to code for your new mobile OS as well as iOS and Android. And the majority of developers today focus on iOS and Android. The majority of developers today focus on iOS, and Android is an afterthought. A new OS with new coding requirements might not go over well. So what I'm trying to say there is, what Slammy's saying is that, yeah, I agree with him. I think that Elon could make an entirely new mobile operating system. He's got the talent. He's got the money, obviously. But then you have to go to the different app developers that are making the apps that people want. The Instagrams, you got X covered, so you don't have to worry about that. But the Facebooks, the Ubers, all the major apps that are heavily used. The developers of those apps will now have to add a third mobile operating system to code for. So you can't just use, it's like right now, you can't use an iPhone app on Android, and you can't use an Android app on iPhone. They're two different systems. So they will have to make a third app that's coded differently, unless they're using AOSP, which we'll get more into then. So anyway, so Slammy responded with that. I'm going to be popping back and forth here because I don't like the way X creates these threads sometimes. Let's see. So, okay. So I responded to Slammy there. And then Shardy McWaffles says, Android is open source, meaning he could use that as a base without issue and remove anything that's not wanted, like data mining. So no need for his own app store, which I disagree with. And I responded to I like the name Shardy McWaffles. Nice. I told him I know how I know how the Android open source project works. So what I responded with was he'd then have to use the Google Play Store for apps, which then means no privacy and your data is shared with Google. So it's then just another Android phone. Or users can sideload APKs that they download from less than reputable sources on the web and then go and get no app support or any sort of security assurances. So yes, Shardy's correct. He could use AOSP, which is Android open source project. He could use that to build his own OS. There's a lot. Lineage has done it. There's Kali XOX. There's a lot of different flavors of AOSP. I worked on dev teams back in the XDA developers days where they made their own custom ROMs. I did the graphics for them. I wasn't a developer, so please don't think I'm implying that I was a developer. I'm not. I did a lot of the graphics work with teams on XDA developers. Excuse me. My brain's all sort of locked up. I was starting to think about the dev team that I worked with, which is called The Collective. Great guys. Hope you guys are doing well, by the way. And if you're watching, I miss you guys, and God bless you. But anyway, so yes, he could do this. He could most certainly do that, and people do that all the time. And there's a whole community of ROMs out there that you can put on your phone that have everything stripped out of them. But there's the problem, is that now you have a stripped out phone. It's not collecting data, it's not collecting anything, but you have no apps. So in order to get these apps, you have to have an app store, and you can sideload, but we're going to get into that more because there's a lot more going on in this post. So that was my response to Shardy McWaffles, and I just like saying that name because it's pretty cool. So we go on, and Todd Oliver says nobody saw the iPhone coming either. And my response to that was the complexities, challenges, hardware, and overall mobile OS landscape were vastly different than today. Apple and Samsung, they have a toehold, and that's implanted in most of the world. So I'm not saying it's impossible. What I'm saying is Elon isn't stupid. He's going to weigh how much he needs to invest in such a venture against what the ROI is. Currently, I just don't think he'd jump into such a project, given everything else he's vested in, unless he makes the hardware and then uses AOSP in Google's Play Store. That's doable, but using Google services means the phone would not be private. And so, I was kind of repeating myself. Several of these posts are going to be kind of repetitive because people, most people don't read replies to other comments, so they just kind of blurt things out. So yeah, nobody saw the iPhone coming. My point in this post was the iPhone offered something different. Okay, our mobile OS system at the time consisted of, Windows Mobile and BlackBerry. I'm not sure if Palm OS was around then. I don't think it was, but for sure Windows Mobile and BlackBerry. Okay, so when iPhone came out and Android came out, that was completely different. That was an entirely new interface. It was a touch interface. It was touch based. It was, that alone right there was different, and that's what helped iOS and Android get noticed and get moving into production and into the market. Now, if Elon Musk brings something like that to the market, something completely different, a whole new interface, a whole new way of interacting with your mobile device, something revolutionary, let's just call it that, then he has a good chance of success. But the way it sits right now, people are ingrained in two ecosystems, Android and iOS. And I say Samsung because Samsung's the big boy. Okay, they make the most phones, they make the most Android phones, and they sell the most. So I just use Samsung as a default for Android. There's the Google Pixels out there, I understand. But my point to Todd Oliver was, listen, it's different than what it was. The landscape is different than what it was back when iPhone first came out. So it's a lot harder right now to get into to make a new smartphone like this with a entirely new mobile OS and an entirely new ecosystem. But we'll get more into that because we have more responses to go over, and I'll link this entire post, entire thread, over on in the show notes so you can read everything yourself. Let's see. Undercover Kiwi says, seriously, Musk would dominate the mobile industry overnight with his phone linking exclusively to the Starlink network. No need for roaming. It is literally and satellite phone. I think he means literally a satellite phone. I'm sure it is coming, but the Starlink network needs to be fully global first. That's a good point. I hadn't thought about that. And so thank you. I do think that Musk has when I was talking about the phone, my response was, I was referring to hardware and software, not so much coverage as far as mobile coverage, like an alternative to Verizon or AT&T. But I see his point, and yeah, I think that Musk has something there with his Starlink, and I use Starlink. I love Starlink. So, like, again, I don't hate Musk. I use Starlink. I love the Tesla Model S. I don't like the Cybertruck. I love SpaceX. X he's done okay with X. There's just some things I don't think that he is. I mean, I don't think he can make everything. I don't understand why people want him to make everything. But anyway, I digress. I'm getting off topic here. But Undercover Kiwi, I get your point, and point taken. Let's see. Happy in my head, he says, or they say, for long now, I've been resisting downloading the X app as I don't want it from Google Play Store. No expert in this field, but I wonder at the statement that no data will be collected. Some data will be collected. The question is, what will you do with the data that's collected? I would buy an X phone because Musk will not sell my data or abuse it. In today's world, we have to choose who is likely to abuse or to allow abuse people's data. That was a comment that just came while I was sleeping. So, yeah, I get Happy in my head's point here. So I'm going back to one of my previous points here, talking about I don't want Musk to have the everything. I don't want the X to be everything app. I don't want to have his companies giving me all of the things. Okay, we did that with Google. Okay, you did that already. Why would I want to give a corporation all of my things? I know Elon seems like a nice guy. Okay, but he runs a business, and it's a big business, and there's a lot of moving parts. And do you really trust that entire business with your entire life? We did that with Google. Look where it got us. Look what we have with Google now. So forgive me if I'm skeptical. Forgive me if I don't trust. Okay, but I don't. I don't trust Musk. I don't trust him 100%. I think that he's a better alternative to what we currently have in some respects. But he's got his faults and his flaws as well. So, would I trust him with my data? I mean, I trust him with my data. I don't trust him with my data, even though I'm an X. But I also don't trust Google with my data, and I have a Gmail account. So, at the end of the day, everybody's collecting data. Google just happens to be the largest data mining company in the world, and eventually, X will get there too, and it's all part of the thing. That's how these platforms are run, is through advertising. Everybody wants something for free, right? And all you got to pay the premium price here on X, and you still see ads. So that should be removed. But anyway, again, I digress. I'm getting into other territory. Let's move on to some more replies here. I'm kind of lost. I had a few other ones that I thought I saw. So Bill Clark also says, Microsoft tried that with Windows Phone and lost a ton of money, even after buying Nokia and paying developers to port popular apps to Windows Phone. I think there's as much room for a third-party phone player as there is for a third-party politics. Okay. And I agree with Bill. That's a good point. Microsoft did do that with Windows Phone. They bought Nokia and they were trying to get developers to port apps over. It didn't work out well for them. Okay. I just think right now the way we sit, and I have to look for that because look for this reply that I gave. Because the way the market sits right now, I don't think would support a third party mobile operating system. All right, so I already talked about that there. these replies get buried and nested within each other here. Here we go. Yeah, Robert Spillman. He says he could use F-Droid as a basis and build a few new apps that give users infrastructure to privately sync things like contacts and calendars. Done the AOSP thing, and the hardest part is data syncing. It's the only real piece missing, and Elon could easily build that. And I have a response in here. You know, and I want to read it because I want to make sure that I got. Okay. So XBear says, why would he have to use the Google Play Store when they can have their own X Store? But that's my point, is he has to build the X Store. And then he says, also, they don't have to use Android either. They probably would. But still, you're making assumptions. Okay, yes, of course I'm making assumptions. All assumptions. You're making assumptions. We're all just assuming here. Because there's no product. So you're right that they could make their own X Store. But you have to convince the developers to be part of that X Store. Elon Musk only has so much power. He doesn't have power over the developers and the apps that are going to be on that store. He's got to pull them in. He's got to market it. He's got to get them to want to make apps for his ecosystem. And I don't think he can right now. Okay. So forgive me if I'm not talking here. I'm pausing because I'm trying to read through these responses and get to one specific response that I had, which I can't remember. Okay, here we go. Stephen Ray says if it uses the same language and/or apps it can be easily ported over. It's a no-brainer. Only make it foldable. So my response to that was, so he uses AOSP. You port the app over without using an app store, but by side loading. How long before bad actors start distributing APKs on the web with malware? You need an app store and ecosystem to vet apps. That requires some extensive work if you want to get it done right. But, maybe I'm wrong. But I also have another reply. So many replies here. Let's go in. I did like Dead Man Laughing. He said, buy BlackBerry. So I thought that was pretty good. Hey, I miss BlackBerry. With the original BlackBerry OS on it. I thought it was pretty good. But I also miss Windows Phone. I can't find my response here, but from memory, I talk about, people say, Musk can do this. He can get it done, and you can have this X phone. But what a lot of these folks are missing, and a lot, and I'm not disparaging anybody. All of you folks that have responded on X, if you're watching this. Really, I got nothing against you. I love you. It's just my response. It's my response comes from a lot of years of being in tech, on the consumer tech side as far as consumer tech reviews. But I also worked, like I said earlier, I worked with a dev team on XDA developers. So I started modding and ROMing phones when back in the Windows mobile days. Can't remember what version it was, but I remember the HTC Dash, and that was one of the first phones that I started putzing around with and modifying the OS to do different things that I wanted it to do. So I know how much work it takes, and I've been around this stuff for a long time, 15, 16 years, 17 years, whatever it's been. So there's a process to it, and right now you can make your own de-Googled phone, your own privacy phone. There's a lot of people selling stuff out there right now for privacy phones. And you can do this on your own. It takes a little bit of work and a little bit of time, but you also have to understand that you're not going to get what you have in your pocket right now. This right here, what you have in your pocket right now, you will not be able to build that. Block for block. The functionality and usability of a phone that you de-Google and make on your own will not function exactly how you are using your phone right now. You can build a phone right now with Kali OS and using Micro G and the F-Droid App Store and other methods, but you will lose functionality that you're used to. And for the majority of normal users, that's going to be hard. For people that tinker and people that are techies and people that can work around issues concerning, let's say, apps not functioning properly, constant crashes, debugging. A lot of issues are going to come up when you do de-Google your phone and you go that route. Well, let me back up for a second. Okay, I don't want to say a lot of issues, but the issues that do come up, you will have to deal with. And the majority of people that are on the internet are not tech savvy this way. So, my final point is that if Elon Musk were to do this, if Elon Musk were to make a smartphone, and from what I'm gathering and what I'm parsing here, is you want an X phone that connects to Starlink, is private, and doesn't collect your data. So that requires, if you want all that, that means that Musk has to build the phone, the hardware, build the software, build the ecosystem, build the security. So he has to do everything. And you're not going to get that just by using Android open source project without an app store. So you need all those parts to have a fully functioning smartphone that's usable to the general public. So I just don't think that Elon is even looking at that right now. Maybe down the road, sure. I don't know. I can't read the man's mind. But right now, this current space we're in, he's still trying to get X sorted out. And he needs to get that sorted out. Obviously, he has Starlink, he has SpaceX, he has Tesla, the Boring Company. There's all these other projects that he's working on. So, and granted, yes, he can hire people to work on this if he, that's what he would eventually do. Do what I love. I mean, you know what? I'm in the same boat with you. I'd like to see another mobile phone on the market, another operating system, entire whole new ecosystem, basically. I miss Windows Phone, but if we had something different, that'd be great. Choice is great. I'd love to have another choice. But I see these posts, if Elon Musk came out with an X phone, would you use it? And everybody's on board. They're like, yeah, well, I'll use it. Yeah, I'd buy it. Yeah. Even Dean Cain was out there saying, yes, I'll buy it. Well, you got to understand that you're going to get, it's just going to be another Android phone unless he puts all that work into it. And I don't think that he is going to do that right now. That is my entire point. I really don't think that he's going to put the time, effort, investment into making a smartphone. He may, I'll backtrack there again. He may put time and effort to making an Android phone that uses Google Play Store. But at that point, your privacy is gone. Once you connect to Google to get those apps, Google's collecting your data. So there's no privacy there. So, that's it. That was my entire point. I really had a great time with this conversation, by the way. I mean, my engagement, I would much rather have this kind of engagement on X than a lot of the other kinds of engagements that I've seen around, which is like, thoughts and, some just kind of goofy stuff that happens on X. So I really enjoyed this conversation. To everyone that responded to me here, thanks. I enjoyed it, and I hope you're listening to this podcast. And I just want you to know that I'm with you. I would love to see a alternative to iPhone and Android. And if Musk wants to build it, right on, let's do it. But I don't think that he's going to do that. At least not this year. And probably not next year. And I don't really think it's on his radar. But I could be wrong. I could be 100% wrong. My whole point is that it takes a lot of work, it takes a lot of effort, and it's not just a snap your fingers thing, and it's not just a matter of using AOSP if you want to do it right. If you really want to do it right and make a device and an ecosystem that's going to compete with iOS and Android, there's a lot of cogs, a lot of things, a lot of blocks to put in place that need to be in place perfectly. So that's my take. So agree with me or not, I mean, whatever. I really enjoyed this conversation. It was fun. So I just had to make a podcast on it and just talk a little more about it. Maybe I'll expand on it a little bit on another podcast. But right now, I think we're good there. I think hopefully I've expressed my opinion well enough that you understand where I'm coming from, and I'll probably have more responses rolling in here as the day rolls in. And yeah, we're gonna end that one, guys. This has been episode 14 of GripeCast. So thanks for listening. Please hit the like button, share, subscribe, do all the things that help us to continue to grow and maintain. I appreciate everyone that follows me. New followers, thanks for tuning in. And yeah, be blessed. Take care of each other. Be kind. Be good. And we will talk to you on the other side.